Let's go out and take a look at this site. Well, we're here at the site, but before we do the inspection, there's one thing I have to do first. It's time for Erosion Control, man. As you can tell by the site's condition, it rained here last night. Let's go take a look at that rain gauge. As you know, rainfall events of ½ an inch or more require an inspection. As you can see, we have just under an inch of rain. Let's start our inspection. For Erosion Control, man, I'm not even out of breath. Here are your two construction entrances. Construction entrance number 1, and I'm standing on construction entrance number 2. Some of the things you have to think about: does this skirt up to the road? Do we need more stone? That's some of the things you have to think about when you're writing in your inspection log. Now is the time of the inspection to look at your perimeter silt fence. It's real important that your perimeter is intact before you proceed to any other part of your inspection. In fact, let's look at the critical area next to the wetlands. This is the high hazard silt fence. If you look behind me, this is the wetland area. How does this high hazard silt fence look? If you reference your inspection logbook, write down what you think. Is it stained? Do we need more stone? Is there off-site sedimentation? We're at the outfall of Skimmer Basin number 1. As you can probably see, there's no actual water leaving this basin, no actual discharge. But for our video purposes, let's pretend this is the color of the discharge of this basin. Write down what you think. It is helpful to remember that although this is a qualitative, subjective measurement, it should be based on practical experience. A score of 1 will be used for very clear discharge. Think about drinking water. A score of 10 would indicate the most turbid discharge. I like to equate 10 with chocolate milk. Go ahead and write down what you think. Look at the next column labeled floating solids. Do you see any floating on the top? Label this 1 to 10. 10 meaning the top is covered in floating solids, and 1 meaning there are no floating solids at all. How about the next one? Any suspended solids? Label this 1 to 10 as well. 10 being extremely muddy, 1 being very clear. Any oil sheen in this basin? Write down either yes or no. Now, if there are any problems here, make sure you write yes in this column and what corrective actions that should be taken. For example, do we need flock logs or extra baffles? Remember this because we're going to be doing this for every outfall of every basin on this job site. All right, it's time to look at Skimmer Basin number 1 itself. Do the baffles work? Do the skimmers work? How does the forebay look to you guys? These are all things you need to look at and write down in the column that says Skimmer Basin number 1. If it's not operating properly, or you think there's corrective actions, go ahead and write what needs to happen. Do we need to add baffles? You tell me.